Experiencing disappointment can be incredibly painful. It can really drag us down and affect our self-esteem. It can oftentimes make us feel hopeless or helpless, and it can also make us feel that we really don't have any motivation anymore. So today we're going to talk about 10 different ways we can really start to move past and deal with that disappointment so we can really move forward in our lives. Welcome back. My name's Nena and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. Here at this channel we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and leading our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, take a moment and become one because we definitely want you to stay connected. Disappointment, especially when it's unexpected, can feel completely crippling. It can make us feel that it is impossible to move on and make us feel that we don't even want to try to do so. So let's go ahead and jump right into 10 different strategies that we can use to really start pushing past these disappointing situations. The first thing that we need to do is to really learn to accept the situation and to express ourselves. So it really does no good to try to ignore the situation or push it away or try to pretend like nothing's wrong. If we try to hide behind a smile, it's really going to actually aggravate the situation in the long run. So we do want to actually acknowledge the situation and express ourselves. So we could talk to friends, we could talk to family, we could write in a journal or whatever we need to do, but we really do need to have our voice be heard. If we fail to do this, oftentimes we become pessimistic about life or very passive aggressive. So it is very important that we take this step seriously. The second thing that we need to realize is that even though we are disappointed, it does not mean that what did happen isn't the best case scenario for our own lives. A lot of times that's a very painful thing to consider because we all have our own thoughts and feelings about the way that we feel that our life should unfold. And it doesn't always happen that way. And a lot of times that's because the universe actually knows better. You can think about the different times in your life where things happened very differently than you had hoped, and you realized much later that that actually was a blessing for you. And you have to consider the fact that even though you're very sad right now, that may also be the case this time. The third thing that we can do is to look for the lessons that this situation has taught us. So we can ask ourselves some important questions such as, what could I do differently next time? How could I avoid this? What did this actually teach me? So often the most difficult and painful times in our life are actually the most insightful. So it's just a matter of really looking for anything that could possibly be gained by this situation happening. The fourth thing that we can do, and this one is so important, and that is to distinguish between having a disappointing situation and being a failure. Just because this happened does not mean that we ourselves are a failure. This is huge. Yes, it is a setback, but this situation does not define us. This is not the only situation in our life. We are going to have millions of situations, and this is just one of them. So we really need to make sure that we understand that disappointing things happen, but that does not mean that we are flawed in some way ourselves. The fifth thing that we can do is to focus on all the good things in our life. So again, in these hard times, these difficult, disappointing situations, we are much more likely to focus on all the negativity in our life. We will start to actually subconsciously seek out more and more negative things to really reinforce how we are feeling. So we want to try to do the exact opposite by really paying attention to all the good things in our life and being grateful for them. Yes, we have this disappointing situation, but yes, you still have so many other aspects of your life that are really serving you and that are really truly blessings in your life. So it's just a matter of looking for them and noticing them. And the more we can focus on the good, the more we're going to start to feel better. The sixth thing that we need to do is to understand that in life, whenever we are seeking out a reward, we will always need to take a risk. And that means that it is always possible that disappointment disappointment could follow. It is a fact of life, and this is not the only disappointment we will ever have, because if we don't really take risks, we don't go anywhere in life. So this is a very important part of our life process. Also, we need to think about if we are trying to hold ourselves to a standard of perfection where no disappointments or no mistakes are ever made, because that is not possible. Perfection is not a standard that even exists, so we can't really meet that standard if it is not even physically possible to do so. So we just need to accept the fact that, again, if we want to move forward in our life, there has to be some degree of risks, and it is entirely possible that sometimes we will face disappointment. The seventh thing we need to do is to remind ourselves that this situation is temporary. I know it doesn't feel that way when we are completely consumed by the emotion of that disappointment, but it is temporary. We will be moving on from this situation at some point, just like we have from every other disappointment that has ever happened to us. So we need to ask ourselves, is this going to matter in a week? Maybe. Is it going to matter in a month? Maybe. Is it going to matter in a year? Definitely not. We will be able to move on from this just like we've moved on from everything else. So even though it doesn't seem that way, you just have to remind yourself that even though, again, this is all we can think about now, eventually it's going to be something that is completely forgotten. The eighth thing that we can do is to step back, recharge, and take a break. So we are in the middle of this situation and we're really focusing on all these very negative feelings, and sometimes we need to just step away so that we can actually recharge and get our life energy back. Because if we are just pouring our energy into all these sad, disappointing feelings, we're never going to be able to really build ourselves back up. And that is so important to the process. So we need to offer ourselves opportunities to recharge. So do something different. Go to the movies, go to a friend's house, go on vacation if you need to. You know, go outside, look at the stars, go on a walk, go to the beach, whatever it is, but recharge. You must recharge. And so often it really takes removing yourself from the situation, at least temporarily, so you can really allow that to happen. The ninth thing that we can do is to re-examine our priorities. So as we talked about earlier, so often when things don't work out, it's because that really was not what was best for our lives. So often we get so focused on that path that did not work out that we are really blind to a path that could be very obviously a lot better for us. So it's just a matter of really giving yourself enough time to really consider what your values and priorities really are and how you can best move forward. So adversity, unfortunately, is oftentimes one of the best teachers and one of the best motivators. So just use it to your advantage and think about how this, what you are now considering a setback, can actually help you actually push forward. And the 10th thing that we can do is to start to take small steps in a brand new direction. So again, it's just reminding ourselves that this situation was not the end of our story. We may need to write a new story, but our story is just beginning. It can have any ending that we want it to. So we want to really think about the way we want our life to proceed, and then start taking those little baby steps again. And that's going to give us the confidence to really continue to move on in the path that is going to be a lot better for us. Disappointment can be incredibly painful, and it's natural to feel sad or angry when we feel that there is uncertainty in our life. It's completely normal. However, this situation does not define us. It's just one situation in a sea of millions of amazing situations in our life. We're just focused on the negative right now. So we've got a choice. We can either dwell on this negative, or we can move on to a bright future. And I truly hope you decide to move on, because you certainly deserve to do so. You deserve to have a life that is meaningful and fulfilling and is going to make you excited to jump out of bed in the morning. So use these 10 strategies to really start to push past this disappointment, and remember that this too shall pass. This is not your defining moment. This is just one moment, and soon this moment will be gone and you'll be in a much brighter and happier part of your life. So I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please like it and share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today. Also, again, if you weren't already a subscriber, take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. And I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.